I don't know. When I spoke to him last night, he said he wasn't sure when they'd let visitors in. They were very cautious this time of year because of that.
Flu and everything? Grandfathers with 1-year-olds that have flu
Then
and
runny
colds,
noses and,
ear infections.
petri dish.
You got that look about you.
Yeah. Well, she was better today.
There was a couple of Christmases ago, we were down in New Jersey, I went with my son to pick up one of our grandsons.
Yeah.
And I swear, all I did was to touch a doorknob at the daycare center.
Yeah,
I was
that's all it took.
It was like 3 days before Christmas, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, it was like, oh, food, I didn't even want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But it was, they're like petri dishes.
There was
Strong
nothing
stuff.
Oh,
Nothing any worse.
Hello.
If anybody's gonna get it, kids.
Sorry, I didn't see your
Oh, yeah.
message.
No, that's okay, I figured it was, thought it was six.
Yeah, the daycare centers, the
Oh, yeah.
schools, and also pediatrician's office. You want to avoid
Oh,
those
yeah.
at all costs.
Let's wait for that.
so, hey, John, at least for me, and I guess for Charlie and a couple of, for this section that's new, is there anything that would make sense for you to review with us as far as procedures or
Suzanne, do you
approaches?
think there's anything you should review? Passing the buck. My understanding is, and having been through it one time before and having a vague recollection, is at this point, we want to put something forward to the hearing or to agree on what's presented at the hearing. And then after the hearing and we get feedback, then we'll vote on whether to recommend the next step. I think there are questions about some ideas that Suzanne put forward in an email, and I think we'll talk about those. But I think at the end of today, we'd be looking for a motion to present the budgets as written or modified today.
Yes, you can modify them today.
Yeah. At the hearing. And for that school. You have anything to add to that, Suzanne?
No, but it might not be a bad idea to repeat it only because,
Yeah, we didn't open the meeting yet.
yeah.
All right, we'll open the meeting now. It's 6:01. I've been doing a roll call as we're here. The only person I don't see is Bob Megan, and then Angela sent her regrets, she can't make it. So Bob may make it in. I know it's an early start today. So with that, Joe had just had a question and I wanted to ask me sort of what the procedure is from this point. We've had all the presentations of the budgets. What's the next step? The next step is to bring the budgets and present them at the public hearing. And so at the end of today, we will be looking for a motion to either accept as written or as modified, depending on how our discussion goes, the budgets for the town and for the school at the two hearings. And then after the hearings, we'll listen to input from the town, and then we will vote to approve, or to, not to approve, but to recommend the budgets.
Take to the public
To take to the public.
hearing.
Today, right, to the deliberative session, exactly. Yep. So you guys have way more experience. Does that sound about right to you?
One omission,
Oh, Mission.
they didn't hear the water district, so we have to do the same thing with the water district budget. All budget,
Yes,
all three budgets.
yes, sorry. Does the water district go to a public
It does.
hearing as
And-
well?
And what we've done.
That's right, it does. At the same time, we did it at the same time as 10.
Yes, which I guess we want to do it the same way this time. I don't know if there'll be more interest. There's certainly been a lot more interest in general
Yeah.
in the water and sewer district, but
The part that's different is that there's no SB2 for the water district, so that'll go to the annual meeting to vote on the budget as
But you're still
SB2
hearing it in a
ballot.
public, your budget committee public hearing and all of that.
Right.
Everything is the same except for the SB two.
Yep. Any questions, or is that clear as
You do all that in 45 minutes?
today? Yeah.
Amazing.
So the first, after sort of that clarification, I guess the first thing is we have, I think, 3 sets of minutes to go through, starting with November 20th. Did everybody finally get copies of the November 20 minutes?
Yes, but too late to, I have to hit read it,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, I thought that I resent those out right after the last.
I think Caroline printed them out for
I
the
printed them out here
committee.
that night,
Yeah.
that's what I remembered afterwards, and then I couldn't find my printed copy anyway, so.
Okay, would you like to defer reviewing those minutes until
Just, for me, just the 20-something, to the one that's,
11:20?
11:20?
the one that's three meetings ago.
Yeah,
11:20.
I'm okay with deferring that, review of those minutes until the next time. Any objections to that? Is that all right? All right, so we'll move on to December 4th.
I have a question. I have a correction. Should I say it now? And that
For
way.
for 11:20 or 12:04?
11:20.
Let's do it then.
Next time.
Angela also sent, I don't know if she said, I don't recall seeing if she sent it to the whole committee or just to me, but she had some edits as well.
Oh, I didn't get it.
So I can voice them when we go over them and we can all decide if we agree. So December 4, motion to accept, and we can then discuss. So we have a motion to accept.
I'll second it.
Second from Paul.
I have some suggested edits, and I can't log into the drive at the moment. Did anybody else have some?
Well, there was a ton of them for Vern.
Is it the name?
Yes. So anything that said
So how do you
The
spell
ones-
With an
Vern?
E at the end.
with an E,
Oh,
Vern with an
okay.
E.
Yeah, they were minor, other than that, I think they're
But
pretty minor.
there was on page, I don't have page numbers, I'm sorry.
He sent those to the whole
Yes, he did.
committee. Did-
Page 4, there was something with wording, under warrant articles before the delivery of town proposed budget. There was, oh, it's if, auxiliary meters, if water. Hold on, let me spell that. I'm sure it says was used, it should be WAS, used for other than domestic use, such as watering lawns or gardens or cleaning swimming pools. He asked to be more clear about what an auxiliary meter was for.
Yeah, I recall reading it and having no
Yeah.
issue with
Yeah.
adding the
So that's
revision.
definitely should be there.
Suzanne, you have something?
Yes, so, under wastewater, the second bullet point, it says, Suzanne H. mentioned that this is not their proposed budget. What I mentioned is that it was not their authorized 2019 budget. So I suggested we change it to authorized 2019 in that place, and then 2 lines below, where we are currently not seeing the, again, it should not, it's not that it was the proposed budget, he was not showing us the authorized 2019 budget. He was showing us an original proposed budget. So I just wanted it to be clear that it was authorized 2019 budget. So those 2 edits. I thought the 25,000 in the other category is for more engineering. I thought the sentence that follows that, I thought wasn't clear. I think what Bill was saying is that life projects should have engineering review and design. And it says when it comes to big increases besides warrant articles, engineer first and then build, which,
So cross engineered and then build and then insert.
should have engineering review or indoor design.
Sounds right?
I'm quite sure that was his intent, that's what he was saying. Then under government buildings, this is the town. The spelling of portico should be Portico.
Also on that, he was changed, I think he just did anything that said BERN, change it to BERNE, so it's, he's crossing out government and put Vermont. So, just be
Yeah, he
careful
did a
when you,
search and
what's
replace.
addition,
Okay.
just be careful when you,
Okay.
if it makes sense to change it where his name was.
Just
Alright.
change his name, not government.
Yeah.
I would take that too.
Then down under police department. So Denise mentioned that every officer this year got a raise that brought them up to market. I thought we asked that question, it just brought them closer to market.
Yeah, I don't, it's not, well,
Is that,
it depends probably what the position is.
do we have any that are at market?
I believe we do,
Okay.
so, but I don't believe that probably all of them are at market.
At or
All
closer
are
to?
close, absolutely closer to.
At or
They
closer
all
to,
got
okay.
from the lieutenant to the special police officers as well, which hadn't gotten raises in years. They all got raises. Bumps up, not,
So,
At or
did you
closer.
catch where that was?
closer to
Yeah.
market would be a fair.
Okay. Any other questions or suggested revisions to the December 4th meeting minutes? All in favor of accepting as edited, as we discussed? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? Approved. So the next is the December 11 meeting minutes. Since I was not there, I have no comments, but a motion to accept the minutes.
I'd just like to clarify, at one point seemed like an inconsistency, although I was there and I know what they meant.
So if we get a motion to accept, and then we can discuss, and then we can revise, that's, okay? I think that's the
I'll make a
process.
motion to accept.
I'll second.
Okay, now discussion, Charlie?
A minor point, when they explained why the tuition went up so much at Marshwood, they said it was because the enrollment was down. Let's see what the word, I thought I highlighted it, but.
Yeah, I thought that's what it said.
But I think what we need to clarify is which enrollment. It's the Marshwood community, without Rollinsford being included in it, that was down, that caused the increase in tuition to us here in Rollinsford. Because there were fewer students,
The total number of students.
yeah, the total number of students in the middle school was lower.
So not
Then
our students.
Rollinsford's portion was
Makes it a higher percentage.
larger. But it doesn't reflect that in the minutes, it just, it kind of looked like, let me find the exact.
So where in the minutes are we, I'm sorry.
I think I asked a question about was it like 7.8%
Right.
up or something like that for 1 year? And I said, is that normal? And they said, no, that's high. And I think you asked the question.
Yeah. I think that's
So it's probably right after in the minutes where it says, I asked the question and then.
Well, you can see it there, but
I would go to page 3.
Where it says
It's where you're talking
policy
about
asks
tuition.
if of the $700 increase for tuition
Right.
per child for the year is an average amount, and Judy N said that it is not. It is just about doubled
right,
the student
that's,
and then this next sentence, the student population has dropped.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
Are you wanna say it's just about doubled because the Rollinsford student population has dropped?
no,
No.
it was the Marshwood
Oh,
Yeah, it's just
community,
their own,
their own enrollment had dropped that caused our tuition, our share of the tuition to go up.
Yep,
So under regular education, there's a paragraph, there's a bullet point that says, which is based, you know, parenthetically, there are two places where it says, which is based off current enrollment, based off current enrollment. So in order to clarify, based on total Marshwood enrollment, not total,
Not total Rollinsford participation,
Right.
right?
and so maybe we should just make it clear, it's total Marshwood enrollment, not just Rollinsford enrollment.
Somehow,
Somehow, yes, that's a little wordy, but,
yeah.
I don't know about that bullet point. So the decrease is based off our,
oh, that's, so I am wrong
Right.
there, oh, okay.
because we have less students going there.
Oh,
So
okay, all right, sorry,
there's a
so,
decrease, right? The increase, based off current enrollment, now
So
I'm
where
reading
is the-
myself, hold on. It's at the very end in the last bullet points. Marshwood tuition rate increase of dollars based on tuition in high school.
oh, I see, yeah, where it says the
Okay.
student population has dropped, I
Yeah.
see it now.
So I think it's that bottom one, I don't.
Yes, yeah, right.
Are you saying we're?
No.
Okay, so the,
It's the last page.
excuse me, there's like the last page, the header bullet point is sixth graders going to Marshwood Middle School.
Which is actually on the second to last.
I don't know, mine's all in one, because
Yeah.
it's on Knack or whatever, that big.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so it says, in, under 3, 1, 2, 3, the fourth bullet under 3, policy asks of the $700 increase for tuition per child for the year is an average amount. Judy N said it is not, and it's just about double. The student population has dropped. I think, let's make that clear that it's the South Berwick and Elliott student population has dropped.
mhm,
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
perfect.
succinct, nicely.
So hypothetically, there might have been 700 kids going there from, and now there's 650 or something.
Right,
Got it.
so Rollinsford makes up a larger percentage of the total population of
Yep.
students, therefore,
Yep.
thank you,
Got it.
good clarification.
Are there any other?
Just a few typos. I think page 7, first 2 bullets,
Which header is that?
no header at the top of it. We're getting into transportation regular. Because they will be going out to Bug next year with bus contracts.
Let's see.
That is bid, and then, bullet below that, Jody asked how many kids we have. I haven't seen buses like plural like that before, but I guess it,
They're both technically correct.
correct,
That's
and I
fine.
agree with you. And then we have a duplicate, we have, minus stuff. Did you see those?
Yeah, I got it.
Thank you.
I have one more. On the first page, Rollinsford School District 2020 budget presentation, second bullet point. And then the second sub-bullet point, the school board will continue a discussion on the, whatever that word is, I don't know, it should be appropriateness. That came from the goals, yeah. Can't even-
I was looking at that and I was
I
like,
didn't know what was it.
maybe it is a word.
Probably is.
wondered if, it doesn't say who's chairing the meeting, it says that you're not there, so maybe just a little addition that said that I chaired the meeting.
Some people want all the glory.
Change the eyes and tears.
There you go.
Especially since the 1 year when the budget goes down.
1 year.
Any other suggested edits to the minutes? All in favor of approving as modified as we discussed, say aye. Any opposed? I'm just gonna abstain since I was not
I did find one more.
there. Okay.
Maintenance. LED asked if the smoke detector budget portion, you see that bullet? On the maintenance,
What was the misspelled word?
4 bullets down, deter, smoke deter, should be
Oh,
smoke
yeah, I
detector.
saw that too, yeah.
I better put it away, I'm sorry.
I don't think we need to
No.
re-vote on those for that, no?
I gave a general request to consider, because I wonder if it's easier for a reader, especially those of somebody looking at these minutes who's not on the budget committee, to instead of having our first name and our last initial, fill out the first initial and last name. So S.Q. J. Ordway. It might be easier for people who are not on this committee to figure out who.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. Okay, so, and we're gonna draw off the 11:20 minutes for the next. So the next item on the agenda is to, I think we should go back and, we went through the whole town budget last, 2 times ago. And maybe, do we have some updates on that? Some suggested updates to that?
Does anybody want a hard copy? I have with their
I'll take
updated
one.
expenditures as
It's
well.
already printed, I might as well.
I'll take one, too.
You go that way, there you go.
There were a couple of things, I think, that we were waiting on last time. One was the salaries for the firefighters or the points amount. And then Suzanne had some suggested revisions. So we'll look at the points first.
Okay, so, the select board has made a decision for, this year. We are going to, make the fire chief, or we're gonna have a warrant article to make the fire chief appointed versus elected, and it will be on the ballot for this year. We are also, and it will reflect in this budget, we are also recommending that we pay $15,000 for the fire chief for his stipend for the year and remove him for the per-call pay section of it. Knowing that and looking at, we took an average of his last 4 years of what he made, and it was under 15,000. So that's where, it was very low 14s. So that's why I picked the 15,000, because based on what he made on fire calls and his stipend, this will give him a real boost, but it will also be all he'll get though in this position, which he has agreed to. Are you asking a question?
Yes, but I'll wait for you to finish.
That's okay, go ahead.
Well, so that means then that the $56,000 that the board is proposing for the salaries line actually now has been enriched by another 7 or 8? Is that one way to look at that?
Yep, yeah. So the salary, we're recommending to maintain what you have here. The money that the fire chief took out of that pool will go towards the firefighters that are in that pool. And we still recommend to have an increase to the budget as well to help in that. And we're gonna try it this 1 year to see where we will be based on minimum wage and making sure that we can at least get up to minimum wage. So, we think that it will work, but you have, the problem, we were looking at, I did this whole spreadsheet for them, different hourly wages and stuff, and it was gonna be a really huge impact to the taxes, because there's no way of knowing how many hours they work, or how many calls they're gonna have in a year. So I erred on the side of caution and had it higher. So we thought if we could leave it this way for this year to see how it works for the firefighters and the officers under the fire chief, how it works, and to see where we fall, I believe, based on that information, that they will be over minimum wage. I will believe it will be between $8 and $9 an hour, is my assumption anyway, based on what we have looked at in the last 3 or 4 years of historical data from them. So that would be our recommendation for the fire department, in which we're also looking at the increase to the fire chief's salary would come out of taxation.
I'm confused on this salary. He's only been taking points for 2 years, and you went back 4 years.
He's been more than 2 years. No, how long? We had data,
He wasn't in 2017.
I had more than 2 years of data to look at. I'm not sure you're right. to be
And the
honest
other
with you.
question was, when you gave us a sample for a quarter, he was making 3,600 for a quarter in his salary. So if that's 4 quarters, he'd be almost 14,000 there.
I'm just telling you what the payroll says.
Yeah.
And we did
Four
an average
Yeah,
over 4
4 quarters.
years, and he was under 15,000.
Yeah, because 2 years he didn't, I believe.
I don't agree with you, but I don't
No,
have my
no.
data, do you have the data that you can prove it out? I don't.
Well, the last
right
time
now.
when I saw the survey on what they made in the town in 17, he wasn't on the list.
I don't know what you're talking about. What list?
The list that was looked up because somebody asked for the salaries for the town employees.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I can't tell you why, but there was a person that wanted to know the salaries of the town employees, and they got a copy after they went to the lawyers, and they
Okay.
got a
You
copy.
mean someone did a right to know law?
Yes,
Okay.
That's public information, by the way.
It's public
It's public
information, exactly. So I'm not sure I don't know what data you're asked for or why, and
see, what
who got it,
confuses
but
me is if he's made 36 in 1 quarter,
That's not a year. I think that's what Denise is
No, no.
trying to say, is that you can't multiply that by 4.
right,
Because you
because,
don't know when events happen. So the longer the period you have over which to get the data, the closer it is.
I'm basing it on
Denise
a
is doing
quarter.
it,
well,
And if you do a quarter times 4, it's around 14 in that line.
And that's what
Charlie.
you can't do.
but it's based on fire calls.
I know that.
So you can have 100 fire calls in quarter one
well aware.
and 10 in quarter two, so how can you compare them?
No, but if you're getting 6 points a quarter, you're getting more than the other people.
You're not just getting 6.
I know that.
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking me. I'm just saying, the fire chief has said that this is acceptable to him. We believe he's going to be making more than he's making currently by being in the pool of the salaries.
You say so, okay?
And he'll be compensated about $15,000.
He will be compensated,
He will be
compensated
$15,000.
15,000. This is a guarantee versus the calls.
Right. And-
So 1 year it might have been 13, the other year it might have been closer to 15. On average, across the board of the salaries that I took, that I had information from, he was under the 15. So,
And would you say, well, just because of my ignorance of fire department,
That's okay.
about how many hours a week would you say he averages when he's?
Mark? He says about 20,
Yeah,
you
so,
know, so I mean, that's based on fire calls and doing paperwork
so
and,
if you annualize this, you'd be saying that you're paying $30,000 for a chief who's got incredible experience.
Mhm.
So it seems to me $15,000 is low, but reason, I don't see any reason not to.
he did not oppose it.
Yeah, no,
So,
it's
I
fine,
mean,
which is
you know,
fine. I'm not
so
saying-
I'm not saying that this is what he's gonna make forever.
I'm saying it's certainly not too much.
No, it's, it's absolutely not too much, no, I agree with you 100%, and we might look at, once we have a year of data, we might look and see what he is doing, but we're trying to resolve a problem that we've been told about that we need to do. 1 point equals 1 hour, so that's also got confirmed in the fire department, 1 point is 1 hour.
So how much would they get for a salary for the 1 point? Are you figuring an
Still gonna
hour?
depend.
Not, the chief is not based
No,
on
no,
points.
not the chief. I'm
Oh.
saying the
It's the-
firefighter.
1 point, 1 hour,
Basic-
whatever based on.
What would the hourly rate be? I know you can't tell a number,
It-
but you,
What they do is they take it, the salary, they divide it by 4.
yeah, I know how they get that. Are they gonna get $7 or $8?
I don't know. I can't tell you that until I know how
No,
many calls, how many people,
Yeah.
and how many, I mean, there's no way of knowing that based on,
The issue is, we're still with the point
Look at it
system.
after the
Yeah, I
fact.
know, but with the
Exactly.
point
That's why I
system,
want a year.
if you make $7 an hour, the assistant chief would make 35 an hour.
no.
5
that's not
points.
true. No, they only get the additional points the first
First hour.
The first
I
hour.
understand that, but Mark even said most of the calls are 1 hour.
Well, I don't know, I can't answer that. I made the proposal.
I agree that they need a raise, I just don't like the point system.
Well,
I know, hey, it's my opinion.
Yep, that's not what this group is for. The group doesn't make those, they make the salaries.
But it's points made, and it is a system that is with like 80% of the towns in the state.
Mhm.
There's reasons for it that have to do with when people become regular employees and not regular employees.
Yeah.
It's not a great system, but
No, I read that information that came
Yeah.
out. Can I ask one question? What was the very beginning? He was gonna be an elected official and now he's,
He is an elected official. We are putting a warrant article to make him appointed. Because
so there'll be no election for fire chiefs that we're saying? I'm just trying to
I'm sorry?
understand. Would
if
be-
it
so that-
passes.
if it passes,
If
you
the
will no
warrant
longer
passes.
elect the fire chief as the,
Okay.
and the reason is because an elected official doesn't really report to the board of selectmen or anybody in the town hall. They report to the people. So it would be better if we can have more of a say and assistance with him, and he is 100% on board with that as well.
Okay.
The other good reason for it, so I think it's a great idea,
Mhm.
is that, you know, I could run for fire chief,
That is correct.
and nobody opposes me, because there's nobody else who, whatever, I mean, I could be elected fire chief, and God help us all. Because I have, you know, 0 experience and even less, you know, I'm.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
hard.
I see what
It's a
you're
way of
saying. Yeah, yeah,
You see what I
controlling.
mean?
I got you.
Yeah, it's a way of controlling who
Yeah.
has that position, because it could be anybody that wanted to run and
Okay.
and ran
I
against
never,
somebody.
I didn't say this, but it could be that.
Yeah,
I didn't really say that then. No, strike that from the conversation, sorry.
but you're right,
Go ahead,
that was
keep
the other
going.
reason. It's a way of controlling, make sure we have experience in
Got
the
it.
highest position.
Got it, yeah.
So, any other questions on how we determined how we were gonna go forward with the, yes?
Is there any, so, is there any, other repercussions as to doing this? Like, do we need to be doing, some, I can't think of the word right now, like workers' comp or anything like that, because,
Well, overtime, like
Payroll
overtime
taxes?
and.
yeah, that, all
taxes.
that, and,
Well,
No.
the payroll taxes,
So
or is it in there? I'm sorry if I'm not seeing it.
according to the,
143, someone's waving to me. Yes, ma'am.
The payroll tax was not, the select board with my assistants made the mistake of doing math in public. And that resulted in the lack of a payroll tax adjustment. So the payroll taxes are now level in that because I was not able to hear back from other board members. So if you wanted the payroll taxes, in your consideration of what to do with the town budget, just know that the payroll taxes as still proposed in this version of the budget would have to increase by $580 to match what we're currently proposing to spend in salaries.
Which is line 143. We would want to make it so it's,
There
we should add
We should just-
580, what did you say, 580?
Yes.
580, we should absolutely do that, because that's the increase to the fire chief's salary.
Cool, thank you.
the point, I think that you might, well, What we raised with that article about, why the point system is used as opposed to hourlies is that if you raise it too high, then you can get dragged into having to do those. But at minimum wage, we feel comfortable that that's not gonna be the case. We're not compensating them like a professional firefighter at that point.
No.
Was that the question?
Yes.
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
Tangential to.
So
what
there's
I
still,
said,
it's not gonna, there's no repercussion that's unforeseen
No,
from doing
like
that.
health benefits or stuff like
No.
that, yeah.
no.
No, that article was pretty well laid out,
Uh-huh.
exactly what.
Mhm. Any other questions on the fire department?
I think the Board of Selectmen did a very good job of addressing the
Oh, yeah,
issues
it-
that the Budget Committee was concerned about.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
your work
I'll
on it.
make a statement. I think the chief is getting a cut in pay, that's just my opinion.
He's not. Based on his W-2 at the end of the year, he is not getting a cut in pay.
Could you show us that data? in
So-
the last
so
4
He's
years?
happy,
He's-
end of
I mean,
story.
I think he would have fought me if he was taking a cut in pay. So I don't believe that he is taking a cut in pay,
Okay.
and it's public information, you want to do a right to know law, you can ask Caroline for his income for the last, whatever, many years. It'd have to be by the end of the year, though, you'd have to wait till you see what his full income.
With that, are we-
Anything else?
On the salaries, the chief is over and so is the salaries for the other firefighters are over for this year's already.
Check, check. Please.
Line 141 and 142.
So this should correct the problem. The proposed budget should correct that.
Don't correct this year's.
Well,
Oh, what you're
correct
saying
this
is
year's.
Oh, you're saying it's
Some of it.
101% versus 100, do you know why, Caroline, those are over?
Not offhand, but I
Yeah.
can look into it.
right, since it's a stipend, it should be just set.
Agreed.
That should, yeah, that should be,
So
just
page
as
one,
the
that's how,
salaries
sorry, I
might
missed
be.
all that.
141,
Yeah, that's just a minor thing. And the salaries for the firefighters is only over by 1,000 because you already approved an extra 5 in your budget,
Mhm.
but it's still $1,000 over.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
any other questions about the compensation of the firefighters and fire chief?
Nope.
Okay.
Unless anybody has something else, I suggest that Suzanne present what she was noodling about
I'd be happy
earlier.
to if people want to, yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
So reflecting upon, some of the conversations and questions, concerns that have been raised by this committee, it seemed that salaries was something, salaries and wages, that the committee as a whole was very concerned about. Denise and the board had just addressed the fire department, and I was looking at ways that we could address some of the other issues. So,
Can I make a comment before you go down that road,
course,
though?
yes.
Okay, so, one of the things, the first thing that you were addressing was to reduce the dental benefits. It is the opinion that in order to retain our officers, offering a benefit is something that we should be doing in order that whatever other police departments are going to be offering, it's another way of maybe retaining them. The other thing you had mentioned was the attendance at the transfer station. We have resolved that issue as well. It will be effective in January, and what we've done is, they had an open position, and what we did was, took a large portion of that open position and divided it by all the transfer station attendants, and the other part of it will be for Saturday-only employee, once we get the scales up and running and understanding what we need to do with those scales. We worked, George and Ed came with a proposal, and the Board of Selectmen approved it. And it will be effective January 1st.
excellent. So they will have a.
They will be 11 and over, 11,
We'll have 2 at $13 an hour and one at either $13.50 or I think actually $13.75, one of the two.
Yeah.
And the starting wage for the Saturday-only position would be 12, up from what used to be 11.
Right, right, so we again have taken care of and addressed the
Wonderful,
problem.
that's really good news.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And it was within their own budget that they were able to do it, and they agreed that they would only need to have that extra person on, a Saturday once they get the
Yeah.
scale,
Yeah.
taken care of, so I don't believe we have to address that now.
Perfect. Can I still kind of touch,
Mhm.
kind of go through?
Mhm.
So, I understand what you're saying, Denise, I don't disagree, but, and it's my own experience from other folks that I know who would rather have a beefier paycheck than necessarily a benefit, which they might or might not use. So I'm still proposing, even though we don't have to put it with the attendance, that we consider, I mean, this is up to the committee, that we consider reducing the, essentially to zero. I mean, I guess it's one just to keep it open. So with that $2,613, I was proposing that we give that money in row 4 to the attendants, which we don't need to do because they've had their increase. So, but I was also proposing that we take 400 of that and add that to the town clerk's election stipend. So that was one of the other things I was thinking doing with that money that was saved. And then the other thought was with regard to police, again, understanding that, retention is an important issue, that we recommended to get a 2.75% increase. But that, and this is something that Joe sort of pointed out the last time, the source of funding for that actually come from other lines in the police department, because without our saying what those lines would be, just that it could come from there because of historical spending patterns. But now that there's that money that we don't need for the attendance, that could be moved down to the police. So that was really pretty much what I was saying in that top part. It was really to increase the police to 2.75, and understanding we also have to increase the retirement and the overtime at the same time. So I estimated it would cost, roughly $3,000. And give the town clerk the stipend, make the stipend $400 per election. I think she was asking $500. So that was the thought at the top part. The items at the second part were just if the budget committee was interested, if the budget committee was fine with a 2.3% operating budget increase, super. But if we were looking for other places to try to bring things down, we might look at FEMA Homeland Security. There are sort of like two lines that are pretty close in that category of reimbursable expenses. And I'm not even sure that I fully remember what the distinction is between those two lines. One is Homeland Security, one is FEMA distributions. I think refunds or.
Reimbursement, so
Thank you,
224,
thank you. Yes.
224 and
Reimbursable
225.
expenses.
What line is that?
224. Yeah, right, if I remember, those, like the FEMA reimbursements were kind of, well, you expect to get that money back. But just in case you don't, you're budgeting for that.
Well, FEMA reimbursements is when you have a major incident that happens in town. The police chief files for reimbursement.
Right.
But if you don't have an emergency, you wouldn't get the income. So, and he also includes highway and fire and some of administration here, right?
Yes.
As part of his big package of reimbursement. We did get one this year.
Yeah, right, I mean, so that's an example. We budgeted 20,000 for 2019. We got 2,600 back. So in effect, you have, 17,500 left over.
Caroline, we got more than that.
So the 26.5 that you're, the 26.55 that you're
Yeah.
seeing is an expense, it's not revenue.
Mhm.
So one of those lines, it allows people to apply for grants that might have a Homeland, a FEMA matching or a full grant for purchasing of items. Or it may be that if there is a weather event and we are we're using vehicles and people for that weather event, that they will reimburse us for the hourly wage and an hourly rate on the vehicles. And then we can do what we did this year, we spent that, it's not just $2,600, it's gonna be more. We used money from that income, you have to budget the expense that then the board chose to buy some cones and road signs, which are related to the storm activity. But you need a budget line to expend from.
Mhm.
So that is part of the expense that was incurred as a result of us having received some income from the storm previously.
And it was the three departments that worked together to come up with this list of things that they wanted to get, that they're kind of lacking on certain items, and they all agreed to, and it was cones and signs and, you know, road closure things and all of that. But you're right, we have to have a line to be able to spend as well as receive.
But the town actually got in more than $2,600.
Yes.
Right.
It was $7,000.
It was, I thought it was close to 8, yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question, Suzanne. With what you're suggesting, it sounds like shifting money around inside. But are you suggesting that we increase the budget that's proposed by a certain amount, or are you just suggesting shifting things around? And
The
if we're-
first part, the top part is just a shifting in order so that we can recommend additional salary dollars for the town clerk and the police. And the attendants were part of them too, but now they're not. So there was no net increase in that top part. It was just a way to try to find funding sources for those increases.
So it could be a recommendation, but obviously, it's not changing the bottom line.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct, absolutely.
However, I have to disagree with the professional service line, which contains our legal line. We have some things in the works that we need to take care of, which we will require for the legal services. So I would highly recommend that we do not touch that line.
Denise, I don't disagree. I
I'm
was
just
just looking for,
Yeah.
the bottom part again was just to try to mitigate, and maybe the budget committee, it does not feel the need to mitigate. You know, it was the now 2.3% increase in the operating budget. So, you know, it just brought the operating budget down to 2.1. And again, you know, it just, you know, where might we find whatever it was, $4,000?
So, can I just ask, I'm just going through this, can I just ask a question? So, for instance, when we're looking at the police, we gave the chief a 9.4% raise, or we're going to give the chief a 9.4% raise.
What line
I
is
believe
that?
there was a
110.
a market adjustment proposed and then accepted by the select board to bring them closer to the salaries of other chiefs.
Yeah, I remember that discussion. I know
Wasn't it
So is
also-
that what I'm reading here?
I don't see the 9% where you're saying.
Right
So
here.
over here, it says 2020 proposed 9.4%.
I'm in fire.
Oh, wasn't it related to social security?
Well, he's retired, that's a separate issue altogether, but.
I'm making that
We
up.
gave, he asked for some from social security, which we did not give him.
So this represents just a market.
The 5,000 is what we gave him. He was
Okay.
looking for 8 something, right?
An additional 3,800.
Yeah, yeah,
On top of the 5,000.
yes.
So I just want to understand this though, so we're giving our chief a 9.4% raise, but then anybody below him gets a 2% raise? Any officer?
Now, understand that when we said that the officers got raises, the chief did not,
So there was already a market adjustment in 2019.
not for him,
No, I mean
Okay.
for the officers,
correct. He
So-
did not get one.
but not for him. So when we increase for 2020, that's based on an already adjusted salary from 2019.
Okay, so that would be like a 4.5%. Well, it's just, when you look at this, you see everybody in town, tax collector, clerk, the officers, they're all at 2%, and all of a sudden you see 9.4% for the chief. So it's like, it doesn't seem to jive very well. And I understand the market thing, but if we're just correcting for 1 year, why is it 9.4%? And he wanted even more, what do you want, 15%? If he's looking at $8,400?
Yeah, yeah.
So there was no discussion or disagreement with him about that raise? It was just, he wanted it, so he got it type thing? I'm just
Well,
asking, because that seems
he
like a big
hasn't-
raise.
He didn't ask when he was looking for market raises for the police department, he did not put one in for himself. Then he came up with a recommendation for himself, because we didn't give him one, because we gave it to all the officers, but he did not get one. And then he came with this proposal, and we felt that it was reasonable based on
Okay,
what
but
he-
the last few years, we've been giving the officers 2 or 3%, right?
Yes, it's
Okay,
been across the board for everyone.
but him.
No,
No, he got it.
He got it, right, he got the 2%, yeah. No, but he didn't get a market increase, like all, he has pleaded his case that the police chief is not at all close to market value, but he is a part-time police chief. And it's hard to compare surrounding areas what our police chief is. But, so he came up with a proposal.
Well, I
to
said in
buy
that whole meeting.
that
he gave up
5,000,
different, but
and we-
again, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't get into the personnel thing part of it, but I mean, if he's retired and that's part of his, I mean, these cops, you compare, these other police chiefs, I'm assuming are not retired, so if they make $75,000 or $80,000 a year and he's saying he's only making 60, he's really making, it's not my business, but he's really making, say, 120 because he's getting retirement, right? So,
Yeah, but that's not
so
part of our budget.
I don't see why a 9.4% raise was market value.
I don't think that we can judge. I mean, you know, he might.
I'm not
he might
judging, I'm
have-
just
well,
saying,
I'm saying he might- he might
9.4%
be
raise and
getting-
everybody else gets a 2% raise. If I was anybody in the town, I'd be like, that should help him feel
Well,
some
but
fair.
I guess that's a valid point, except Denise has just explained to us that it really is woefully
Mhm.
below market value.
Mhm.
So it's an attempt to try to get it closer. The point I'm trying to make is that, you know, I could have a trust fund that gives me $5 million a year, but I would still expect to be paid what my job is worth. So that's the only distinction I make. I understand.
Okay, I understand
No,
that,
we
but he's
shouldn't be
part-time.
bringing in
He's
what his
part-time.
retri-
See,
yeah.
we're talking part-time and full-time police officers. The other chiefs are all full-time, correct?
I don't know that. We haven't done the due
He's-
diligence of
So,
going through it.
again, you have to remember, he's 30 hours a week, he's a part-time, he's not a full,
He's 20 hours a
40-hour.
week. He's 30?
So, you're not comparing, again, you're just not comparing on just the apples to the other towns.
I don't know that, because I truly didn't do the data analysis, so I am just
We are-
trusting.
right.
I am
We
trusting
can
that-
all say and trust, but we listened to the presentation, and it was, he had 6 or 7 towns, and how much those chiefs make, about how much he makes. My point is, those other chiefs are full-time.
You did have on the sheet that the average part-time chief was 60,192. I don't know where that came from, but he had, that was for a part-time,
That's for a part-time chief?
that's what he has on, written on the side.
Because he's actually a bargain for the town,
Yeah.
because we don't pay him benefits, we don't pay him sick leave and annual leave.
Good.
He doesn't
And when
pay
he
holiday.
retires, whenever it is, we're gonna get somebody for 40 hours for a lot more with benefits. So he's a plus right now for the town. Hmm?
We'll do a warrant article, the chief can't retire.
No, I was just asking, I mean, it's a good question,
Solve that
you know, when you see a 9.4
No.
compared to 2,
I
2, 2.
understand.
Okay. That's all I got.
It was a good eye though, picking up on it and then flushes it out and then figure it out. Helpful for me.
Are there any other discussion or comments on the town budget would we like to?
No, I just agree, I'm glad that the chief, you know, took that 15,000, he's our chief, because he's had some good dealings with it. Yeah, so- Sorry, changing from police to
That's
chief.
okay, I was just saying.
Which is, that should be done.
Sorry.
Any other discussion of the town budget, and are we ready to entertain a vote to proceed? Are there any changes that we want to make?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we increase the payroll taxes of the fire to the 580, so we're in full based on his salary. That was, overlooked.
Mhm.
Is there a second?
I'll second, that's fine.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in
Just
favor?
had one thought, when Joe was talking about, approved versus expended, at the end of the year, if you don't spend your whole proposed budget, where does that money go? Is there a general fund that it just goes into?
Yeah,
Fund
From every
balance.
fund
department?
balance.
Fund
Yeah.
balance.
But let's just get through the motion if we could. So any discussion on the motion to increase line item
It's 143 payroll taxes fire,
payroll taxes by
$580.
$580, and that's to correct the calculation for
Fire chief
the
salary.
fire chief's
increase.
salary for the taxes on his salary.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Passes.
Does that change the percentage at all, though, about what you were talking about,
You mean the bottom line?
Yeah.
I don't think it would affect the bottom line.
not that, I'm just curious.
I can figure it out in a
$500 on what?
580
Where are we? 2.53 million. Are there any other motions on the town budget?
Nope, I mean, I'm just curious on that one, that's just a curiosity question.
It would be a very small percentage.
Do we have any motions, a motion to present the town budget as modified tonight at the public hearing? Do you have a motion to do that?
Wait a second, what are we gonna do with Suzanne's suggestions?
They were not a motion,
I know that.
and John just made a motion, and I actually second that motion.
Well, I'm actually asking for a motion, so
Oh.
I think I can give a motion.
Darn.
So,
I mean, I'm happy to just.
I mean, I think if we did it, we'd do them one at a time.
Do what?
go through each line item and.
Yeah, then we can see if we
Oh, no,
wanna,
I would not be in favor of that. This was just a thought, something to think about. I mean, you're talking about each of my lines one at a
Yeah.
time?
just a few you had.
You could make that as a motion, I would not. I
Yeah,
just
I
don't
won't.
think, it was kind of like the
I
top
like
part
this.
was one picture, the bottom part was another picture. Just something to kind of think about. You know, Denise said they've already addressed the attendance, that takes a big
Right.
chunk out of that.
Yeah,
You know, they can address the police salary on their own because it was just, again, it was just a way to think about how might we do some of the things that this committee thought was important to do. And
right, I think
No.
your main point was the fact, you give the option of either not having dental and getting more money into your pocket,
That's what
or that was the main.
That is I still believe that,
Yeah,
but
and that's something that could always be brought up again.
I'll make a motion that we drop the benefits from 2614 back to $1,
Do we know this?
since we have nobody that wanted
I'll
to sign up
second,
for it.
I'll second it.
So any 2614,
62.
Under personnel administration.
This is probably more of a question, I gotta, sorry, finish what we're doing here.
yeah. So the motion is to reduce the line 62 dental benefits from 2,614 to $1. Motion by Charlie Dion and second by Suzanne.
The reason for that motion is we only have 8 full-time employees, and you need 6 to do it, and we haven't got the 6 to sign up. That's my reason.
Other discussion?
Is that the latest information we've got? I mean, we got.
We did have the numbers, and then, one of them backed out because they would only do it if it was, 100% paid. So,
Okay,
Now it's got just.
yeah, he does. Got it.
invoice and see how it comes out, and if it's close, then we'll do it by roll call. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
I think the ayes
I
have
think
it.
got it. Have to do it.
What were your reasons? So, I mean, that's
I just
important
think
to-
that the more benefits we offer, the better off we're gonna be able to retain our employees.
Okay.
It's a small amount of money, and if we can't do it this year, and you know, you could have a change in staff
Yeah.
that could make that number change, and then we could go ahead and do it. I just believe that we should try to offer as much as we can reasonably with our full-time staff. That's fine.
Is that an open enrollment? If, can anyone enroll in that benefit at any time, like if next month
I don't know.
they wanted, you know?
Only if you're a new employee, right?
Limited to when you can.
Open season is probably
Because we
closed.
have not signed up for dental at all, once we sign up for dental, we can sign up for dental at any time. But I would add that for 5 people who want it, they really want it, and those are mostly your younger officers. So they ask all the time.
How
I
much
say
does-
that after the vote
I was gonna say, I
intentionally, you know.
Well, how much does it cost for them?
It costs us about $40 per month. The current proposal was an equal cost sharing between the employees and the employer. One of them, only one person really would not use the benefit. And then one, you have to get that person away from this, you know, you have to beat the spouse's plan. And then you've got one young person who's on the family's, you know, their parents' plan because they're young enough still. So when that person ages out of their parents' plan, they're likely to come over. So it's an evolving conversation as the employees evolve and as the offer changes.
So I'll just say again, whatever that cost is to the officers, if we gave them that in their salaries, that would also increase their retirement benefits. So, you know,
But they want it.
I
I'll just say
understand,
that, they want it.
somebody should give them some, you know, financial,
So,
Well, not necessarily. The
Do
cost, you know,
do they have like a, do they have the same option as like a HSA where they can put the money into that and put it into dental or health or whatever? Is it the same situation we're talking, or different?
It's different, it's actual insurance, it's not an HSA. We could sign up for an HSA, I don't know if it would cover dental, but it would be instead of their regular health insurance, which they wouldn't want to do.
So, unless we want to reopen the dental, I think we should move
Okay.
on. Any other line items that we want to recommend adjusting for the hearing? Now I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we put forward to the public hearing the budget as presented to us by the select board with the adjustment to dental benefits and the adjustment to the payroll taxes in the fire department. that we just made.
I'll second
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
it.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstained.
Abstain? Sorry.
I'll wait until the next meeting.
That's fine. Actually, it's a voice vote, so I think we still pass. All right. School
We're gonna
budget.
go over capital?
Excuse me.
We're gonna go over capital? Okay.
We will have to make recommendations on those, on that, at the public hearing, once we hear what people say. Otherwise, we can't change them, right? We have no ability to change them, so they're gonna be presented as the board presents them, as the board has them.
As I looked at this, there's one thing that puzzles me. The boiler for the town hall is gonna be rolled over, right Denise? And 20,000's coming out of SIP and 5,000's coming out of taxation. So that will have to be shown here, right? In capital?
No,
No.
because that's a 2019 event, so it's done with. Even though you're rolling it over, there's nothing to vote on. It's just an auditory function an audit function
Yeah, okay.
to carry it over.
It'll come out of fund balance, but not out of that
I
next
see
year's
what you're
taxes.
saying, okay.
So we're ready to start discussing the school budget.
water and sewer first or school first?
Well, since we don't have a representative from water and sewer here.
We still have to,
We still gotta present a budget.
He hasn't given us a revision on his budget.
he did, well, it wasn't a revision, a reformatting. He reformatted the budget and sent it off to us a while back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shall we do the school and keep moving and we can
Yes.
catch up on water and sewer? So any discussion, about, any clarifications that we need on the school budget? I wasn't here, so I'm not.
It was pretty laid out, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so I have an update, let me just find the email, that I received kind of late today, so apologies for, late announcement of it. I sent a revised version out to everyone via email, like 10 minutes before this meeting. But I printed out some copies quickly so that we needed it. And someone is gonna be missing a page 7. I don't know how many ended up printing because I put 12 in and I had to leave before it was finished. So hopefully we have enough. I really need to share.
7?
Everyone's missing a page 7 because there's one right here.
I'm a winner.
Are these,
I have a second.
oh, I see.
So basically, you will see a change to the special ed tuition line.
Which is on page,
I don't know, I'm reading from my email, sorry. Page 3 says tuition.
Yeah, copy of everything.
We have a change in need in special education that is requiring, and I wouldn't necessarily say requiring us, but we believe that the best decision would be based on a change in need to increase the special ed tuition line by $50,000.
50.
50, yes, 50.
Wow.
It's special education need,
In the private,
that's
That's
all
a lot
we
of
can
money.
say about that. It is a lot of money, and this is why we have a trust fund for those things, that when those emergencies come up, because special education, when it costs a lot of money, it costs a lot of money, and we have nothing to say about it. So, it is what it is.
My only
So,
question is it,
So but because it's not an emergency,
We're
and because
putting
you
it
know
in the
you
budget.
have to, sort of have to
Exactly.
put it in the budget.
Exactly, yes, that trust fund, I'm not calling it a trust fund, but that fund is specifically for emergency situations. After a budget has been passed, we don't have enough money in our budget to pay for a special need that comes up. We would then have to go to the town, get approval to spend that money, and then we would be able to spend it. This, we're aware of in advance, and so we think the responsible thing to do would be to increase our special education line.
And which is the chart of account number for that? I was trying to see the difference between what was in the presentation and your new update.
So, I'm sorry, what?
Which is the account number that increase is in?
I haven't even had time to look at this new version, so I
I
apologize.
believe it's on the bottom of page 2. Second from the bottom.
Page 2.
So 55, 10, 12, 10,
Yeah, right.
55, 63.
Sorry, 6301.
Oh, one,
Sped tuition
elementary,
to private school?
50,000. Yeah.
Oh, elementary to private.
Yeah.
Sped tuition elementary to private. Wow.
This is,
So that is a change.
now my question is it affected in this tax year, or is it gonna be just next year?
I don't actually know the answer to that. Judy, do you know the answer to that?
I don't, but it doesn't affect next year's budget if we have to do something this year with it, so.
No, I was just curious.
Yeah, this is late breaking
Yeah.
news to all of us, so.
it can change daily.
And this is why we say, it's why we say it can swing $200,000 one way or the other, any given year. Special education funds, easily, with one person.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm speaking out of turn, sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wondered, we have somebody new coming into special education into the
Can't
district?
really
No,
talk
it's-
about that for privacy reasons. I can just tell you
No,
that it's a
it-
special education need.
All we know is it's needed.
I'm sorry. It can be frustrating.
So if you are going to have to start the program before the next budget year, then that might be an instance where you would go to the emergency funds. You had no funds to.
Potentially, yes, that would be.
Okay. Which could cut down on the ability, or if you have to spend down your budget before you can do that, it means you wouldn't be able to put money in the reserve fund, possibly.
Yes, possible.
So to answer Charlie's question in a generic way, things that might cause the special ed budget to swing either way could be an individual with a new identified need, or a new person coming into the town with a need that wasn't there before. Those are-
Yes, or multiple people.
Multiple people,
Yep,
right.
coming into the town with a need.
And the odds are this is gonna continue. I'm sure if they're going for this year, whatever age they're in, they're gonna continue.
Certainly, there is potential there.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the big news.
So, I'm going by memory, so forgive me, but was there not a slush fund or something like that for special needs? Was it not like
There is, that's the fund I was
$35,000 that was?
talking about that. So that is only for emergency purposes, so that we would need to go to the town and request permission to do that. But this is something that we know about in advance, so we need to put it into the budget. It's not, so if,
foreseeable.
so as,
It can be
yeah.
budgeted.
As
I see.
Suzanne was
I
saying,
got
if that
you.
was
I
like right
understand,
now
I
and we had
understand.
no money, then we
Mhm.
would be saying, hey, we need our trust money. Can we please spend this $50,000 because we need it today and we don't have
Okay,
it?
so,
But
again,
because we need it for
yeah,
next year.
I'm following you, I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure, so
Yeah.
hypothetical question, if it was a month from now and this came up, you'd have to go into that 35 and burn it, and then come to the town and say, we need 50. Got it.
Yeah,
And in 40 years, they've only had to do that once,
really,
special meeting.
really? Wow.
Okay.
That's a good thing. So, yes, now.
Do you have other good news?
Well, I think, do you have a
Well,
question?
she softens us up saying how the school district gave so much money back to the town, so I see how this goes.
Yeah.
Well, so for your tax reduction this year, and now for next year.
But I guess this is so unique that, I
Oh,
mean,
no.
we spend almost $1 million already. That's 20% of the budget on special needs. And this is so unique that it's actually going to another school.
It's the hardest thing for them to budget for,
Yeah.
It is.
without a doubt.
It is, it's never a known figure, it can change on a daily basis, it can change based on the needs of current students, based on new students coming in, you know, we have no control over that, and we are required to educate all the students.
So there, just an education for myself then. So there are like state rules that say a child with this kind of need cannot be met within the current special education program that the district has. They need to go to a more
So-
sophisticated place then.
I don't know that there are state rules that say this needs, you know, can't be met in this environment, but I know that there are a lot of processes in place to assess needs for students, and clearly those processes have told
Mhm.
our school, other schools who knows that these needs exist.
But that decision is made within the district to do that, or somebody's coming, a parent is coming with a doctor's note that says, this is so unique, I need to, you need to do something different outside of your normal special education program.
I believe that can happen either way. Judy, do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to speak out of turn, but it is definitely a process that starts within our district. a need is identified.
Or in aid.
Now, it could be also, I mean, and it starts there and it builds out.
Mhm.
And the regulations come, the laws come from the federal and the state level, that we must meet the needs
Mhm.
of any child between the ages of 3 and 21
Mhm.
to be educated.
And I understand that.
Did you have more points that you wanted to make on?
No,
Denise has a
that
question.
is the, that's
The
the
doozy.
main change, yeah.
So any update on the union contract?
I don't have one.
We're still in negotiations, we have no update. We hope to have an update on January 11th for the budget committee public hearing.
What is the date for that to close?
It is January something.
Yeah,
It's the last day we do a warrant article, so it's January whatever.
okay.
19th or whatever.
Can I ask her another question?
Please.
So what happens, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What happens if you don't go through negotiations by that date? What happens to the
We will be
contract?
unable to, but we will be unable to put a warrant on.
You'll be able, and
We will be unable to, if we don't have agreement,
Yeah,
by the time the warrant needs to be presented
yeah.
to the public, then it simply will not be on.
Then there's no increase or decrease.
There's no contract.
There's
no
no contract.
Then there's no contract.
There's no means of doing something after the fact?
I really don't know, we'll have to find out.
Is it because it's SB two? Is that why?
I really don't know.
Okay.
That's an excellent question, we'll have to find out.
So, I'm trying to, so the grand total is on page 9, is under FY '21 proposed. That represents a $19,000 increase over the prior year, is that, even with this 50,000? Is that the way I read this?
That is what it looks like.
So even with the 50,000, we have, but the reason that it's actually more significant, I guess, is because there's also a reduction of revenue. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's actually, there is a hit on the tax rate,
Mhm.
potential hit
Right.
on the tax rate that is more than what we might see here with this 19,000. Is that?
Yes, because the revenues have been reduced. Trying to get my other packet behind me here. Yes, so the revenues were reduced 149.7 from last year. And then our 52,735 for adequacy payments.
Is there any possibility that the revenue figures would change based on this new identified need? Does the state do any?
I mean, I don't know specifically to that, but, you know, there's always the potential that they may change. These are estimated figures, and they changed pretty dramatically last year, actually. So, yes?
Well, I was just
Yeah.
thinking, you know, it would be helpful for our public hearings if we could have some of the, and they're all just estimates, but I know that when I was on the board, we had that sort of a 10-year look at things, and we were estimating what at least the town's impact on the tax rate had been, would be, you know, was proposed to be, and might be in the future, and it's just, I find that helpful to kind of see a sweep and to have it also, you know, to have some notion of the school and, well, not the water district, because it doesn't impact everybody's taxes, so. So I guess I'm asking if is the town going to be continuing with that, or is thinking of continuing with that?
Is it a trend, are you looking for a trend line in
Well,
the tax
for the
impact
Well,
of the
tax-
budget?
I'm looking for, I would like to see a tax, what is the impact of both of these budgets that we estimate on the tax rate for 2020? Additionally, at least on the, because I know this existed in the past, and in the not terribly distant past, for the town to project it outward, like, given, you know, a 2% operating budget increase, given what we know the capital improvement plan is projecting for the next 10 years, what does that do and, you know, let's say a 1% increase in revenue, what does that do to our tax rate? For me, it was helpful. Now, I don't wanna give more work to the town, so the town wasn't going to do that.
You
then that's
volunteer to
that.
do it?
I would volunteer to do it, yes, seriously, I would, if the town would so enjoy that.
I think the town's gonna be around 90 cents.
So, back to the school budget. Yeah. I mean, there are no other changes other than, that I have, other than what we presented.
I propose that we move the school budget as presented this evening with the additional special ed amount to the public hearing.
I'll second
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay. Guys have it. So water and sewer. And
My
I
friend,
apologize, I'm not on top of the water and sewer budget.
I don't think anybody's on top of the water.
Including water and
To be
sewer.
honest with you, I'm very
Concerned?
confused
Oh, doesn't
with
really-
his presentations and with the, what I have anyway. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying I don't know how to interpret it. He's changed his terminology, he's changed accounts, and I thought there was gonna be he was gonna make another presentation and clarify that for us tonight.
John, when are we scheduled right now to have the public hearing for the water and sewer? And they don't have the same, even though we've scheduled with the town, I guess I'm asking when that is, I don't know. But I believe because they're not SB2, they really don't have to be as early as the town, so maybe there's time for this committee in January early January to get back with water and sewer and find out what, just get this all straight.
It looks like it's the 18th of January, public hearing on town and water sewer district operating budgets. It's
So I think we
January
can do the water and sewer even later, because they're not SB2. I don't know how much later, that I don't remember, but it's probably into February.
We could just have one more meeting.
What?
We could actually cover it in a hearing, even at a, after the hearing or something like that, or
Yes, good idea. Yeah.
while we're all there.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
that's a very good point, Sean. But it sounds like people just aren't ready to, it has been confusing.
When is the public hearing?
January 18th. at
Thank you.
Water
So
and
when is-
Sewer.
No, I
Water
mean
and sewer?
the
No, for the,
presentation, sorry, I should have been more.
the public hearing says the public hearing on town and water and sewer district operating budgets and warrant articles is January 18th at 9 AM at
Okay.
the middle, at the grammar school.
Okay, thank you. And when is the presentation for the town?
The same day.
It's all the
That same
18th.
day. The
I'm
town
sorry,
school
it's all the
district is
18th, sorry,
different.
got it.
The
So-
school district is a different day.
It's gotta be approved before that, or not approved.
So what I think what you said, if I heard you correctly, is when we do the public hearing on the town, we don't do the public hearing on the water because we don't have one to do, but we meet with Vern after that and get it all straightened out, and then we do a public hearing another time? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I was,
No, I think he was, well, I shouldn't speak for you.
no,
I think he was suggesting before the 18th.
yeah, well, just looking at the schedule here, for instance, we have, is it, am I looking at the right schedule here that we're doing the school district on January 11th?
Yeah.
And then the next week we do the town. So maybe at the end of the school district public hearing, we could revisit the water and sewer and then put something forward for the next week to be presented at the public hearing with the town budget and the public, and the water and sewer. Does that?
It adds a net zero to our meeting schedule, so I think that's a wonderful idea.
So, I mean, you mean to include Vern at that, obviously, right? You want Vern to discuss.
Well, Bob Megan is your
Yeah, Bob
representative.
Megan is
Bob.
the representative,
Yeah.
but,
However,
So
Bob.
it's up to him.
Whoever, yeah, sorry, someone for water and sewer district,
So-
got it.
I imagine it's gonna be Vern.
right.
He
So
said
we-
that's the budget.
We need to just communicate, my strong point these days, to
Okay, so-
communicate that,
Well, the
That's-
good news is that Caroline is here, so could we ask Caroline to post that on January 11th, after the public hearing in the school, we would have and after our deliberations on the school, that we would then have a meeting to review the final review of the water and sewer district. So if that's posted, and then we could add, then it doesn't change the 18th, right, because the 18th we would be doing both. So I think that's the only, isn't that the only? And then all we have to do is communicate with Vern.
Yeah, we also have to notice the public meeting 7 days ahead, so January 3rd. We could go over it, we've got it on our schedule. It needs to be posted.
I missed that meeting with the water and sewer district, but from what I hear, a little teeny bit, it was a little confusion, it was confusion anyway, so.
So, but I
From
can
what I
follow up
gathered.
and send a note to Bob and Vern and ask them to present the updated current budget for the water and sewer on the 11th, after the,
To us.
to the budget committee, after the public hearing is
Yeah.
closed. That sounds, okay, do I need a motion for that, or are you okay with that? I think we can go with that.
Yes, I can go with that.
Consensus? All right, is there any other business that we need to cover?
You're not changing the numbers on us.
She's got another lawyer, it's gone up to $100,000.
I just wanna put it out there, if anyone wants to talk about the, proposed warrant article to send sixth graders over, I have the calculations, I sent them out to everyone, and,
To this committee?
I did, yes.
Yeah, it was, I think it was extremely expensive, right?
It is estimated at, $326,650 additional
For
Um,
like 20 students or something.
for, I believe it's budgeted at 27 students.
Red.
Yeah, 27 students.
That's a lot.
When we talked about it at the presentation the other night, I feel like there were some questions and there was some pushback on those numbers, so I just want to make sure that I offer explanations and answer questions, anyone who has them. Yes?
I have another way.
That's what we would say.
Bob had a good example. And
Yes, he
it was
did.
a great example. And I'm just gonna do the same example, but situated in a household.
Yeah,
So if you have a household of 5 people, 2 parents and 3 children,
yeah.
and let's say, just to have round numbers, the cost of managing that entire household is $100,000. Then you have the oldest of your children who goes to join the service. He's no longer there. You're not going to save 20% of that $100,000 because one person is gone. And I think that was the
Food budget, and
disconnect.
that's about it, right?
But I think that was the disconnect. It was like,
Yes.
Car insurance goes down, a lot of good things.
but probably not 20%.
Yeah.
So I think that Superintendent Godomsky did reduce the RGS budget based on the fact that, but it wasn't the full amount because of all of these other considerations. And I think that was a hard thing,
It's not apples to apples,
Right.
for sure.
so that was my example based on
Yeah.
just a similar one to Bob's.
The one question I had, 6, 7, and 8 grade all go to the same school, correct, the middle school?
The South Berwick and Elliott students. do.
Okay, and do they all
Rollinsford
go to the
joins
school at the
7.
same time?
So what happens is
I'm
there are.
confused on the transportation.
Yeah, sure. So South Berwick and Elliott have 2 elementaries, K through 3, right? So South Berwick has a kindergarten through 3rd grade, Elliott has a kindergarten through 3rd grade.
Right.
In 4th grade, they go to the Great Works School. They go to that school, all the students go to Great Works School for 4th and 5th grade. Then all those students transfer to the middle school for 6th through 8th.
Right.
Our students join them in 7th grade. That,
Yeah.
Currently.
Currently.
If our 6th graders go,
they would be starting the Marshwood Middle School
right,
at the same time as the South Berwick and Elliott students transfer from the Great Works School to the middle school in 6th grade.
okay.
So one of the concerns I thought some parents had was that they're gonna be coming into the school and not have the social connections. But those social connections already were made at the Great Works School. And that's the school by Berwick Academy on
Yes,
that road?
yep,
Okay.
exactly,
Right,
yeah.
so-
So those
I
students have all
understand
been
people's
together,
concerns and
yes.
stuff, but they've
yep.
already,
Not to say that's not
Correct.
unfounded in
Yes,
any way, for
yeah.
sure, but yes, those students have already all been together for 2 years prior to
Yeah.
sixth grade, yeah.
So those 27 children pick up the need for an extra bus?
They do, and
That seems very expensive.
I
You could
asked,
send them all on Uber.
so let me
I'm putting
explain
together a
to
business
you
plan.
our
I'll
current
give
bus
you my
situation, right? We work very hard to reduce the cost of the buses, and currently for our 7th through 12th graders, what happens is we have 3 buses that travel around on their routes, pick up Rollinsford students, and bring them to the Legion. Then the kids reorganize themselves onto 2 buses, and 1 bus goes to the high school and 1 bus goes to the middle school. That 3rd bus then goes and starts a Rollinsford grade school loop to pick up those students shortly after. I don't think they go right there. So what that would mean now is, and so I asked 2 questions. One, are we sure that we need the 2nd bus? And we've gotten a confirmation on the quote of $71,000. And my other question was, theoretically, we have 3 buses, right, traveling those routes. Does that $71,000 number actually take into consideration that we have 3 buses for part of that time? And it does. So basically, the $71,000 for an extra bus is solid. Each bus can hold about 77 students. I can tell you anecdotally that my son was first on and first off. The middle school and high school starts at 7:20 in the morning. He was picked up at 6:05 in the morning to get to school on time. So were we to not add another bus, because theoretically, and I don't know that that would be true, that we could fit all the students on 2 buses, I wouldn't want to know what time in the morning our children would be picked up from
Well, I'm
school.
driving now, so
Yeah.
that extra half hour of sleep,
So, yeah, right?
I get it.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So it's the bus number, I pushed quite a bit, and it's real. There's no getting around it. So,
The only other question I had, and it's not related to this, but $50K for the study for the air system,
Heating, ventilation.
heating and ventilation, 50K
Diagrams.
just seemed like a lot to me off the top of my head. Is that already etched in stone? I mean, you already have the study done, or is that proposed budget for us?
it's proposed budget for a study. I believe our facilities manager is the one who went out and kind of sussed out what that might cost the school. So
It
that's
could be less.
a best estimate.
Okay.
Could be less.
Could be more,
Hopefully, it is less.
could be more.
Hopefully you don't eyeball it, so please.
We're not in New Jersey.
Any more, any
He'll get you back.
additional business, new
I always
business?
sit in the corner
If I
at
might-
restaurants too, looking out.
Judith?
If I would like to make a comment, since, if it's all right, and thank you, Jonathan. So the proposal that we're thinking of, the warrant article we're thinking of, and the board has not fully decided yet if we're going to do it on sending 6th grade, because if we put it on this year, in order to inform the town of how much this will cost, the school board has already decided that it will not, while even though we are putting the warrant on, we will not recommend it, because we do not believe we need to spend that money this year, certainly this next year. And we would like to save the town that money.
Okay.
And that's a recurring number every year.
Once it starts, it does not stop, correct? It will always be in the budget once it starts.
Any other new business?
Yeah, well, not new, but just going back to the 50,000, I'm assuming if you're spending $50,000 for a study, the implementation of that is multiples of 50,000, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's there's a big number coming down over the years for that school.
Which is why we're building up our capital reserve fund, in anticipation of a few things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suzanne?
I don't have my binder with me, so was that study part of the operating budget, or is that going to be a separate warrant article?
No, that's part of the operating budget.
It's in the one of the 9 goals.
It's only 7:30. Anybody else?
Close to
Why
that,
do we
45
start this
minutes.
meeting at 6?
Well, we thought,
I'm just kidding.
there have been other committees
I'm happy
where,
that
you know,
it's earlier.
we're going to be talking about,
Had water and sewer been here, we would have been here a lot.
yeah,
We'd still be
that's true.
So, any other business? Motion?
Just a thank you to our governing entities who are represented here tonight, the school board and the select board.
It's a lot of work.
They did, it's a lot of work, and especially with SB 2 in the town, and, you know, we're still trying to, I know you're still trying to get on the wagon.
Yes, we are.
So I, thank you, it's a lot of work. And I appreciate some of the decisions that you were able to make to get salary increases, so thank you.
So we have a motion to adjourn. Charlie's got a motion, second. All in favor?
Everybody has his pencil.
Aye. Any opposed? See you.
Yeah, I mean, the guys will get.
Is your cold clear?
It is,
Is it?
Especially because they're always out.
Self-employed.
It's not like they just sit.
Those guys are doing great.
I
Amazing. They are
do.
great guys.
That doesn't feel like it's your time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so there's a.
Yeah, maybe, that may or may not.